All right, next video. Mother was a hammite. Again, I'm looking to prove that the majority of the Negroes in America better represent the tribe of Ephraim than they do the tribe of Yehovah or Judah. This video again will be titled Mother Was a Hammite. First of all praises to the Most High Yahweh Bahashim Yahabashah HaMashiach Selah. Okay, we're just gonna roll this one down. We're not gonna start with verses. Just gonna roll this one on down because I tied in some of the verses in with some of the topics for this one in particular. So we're just gonna start it out and roll. I noticed that many times the child will get the mother's nose. Just again, I don't have any concrete science on it except from what I've seen, what I've picked up. Okay, and I've seen this quite often. My oldest son has his mother's nose. My daughter has her mother's nose. My youngest son has a nose very similar to his mother's. I'm wondering if perhaps Ephraim and that nose of Ham that many of us over here have, did it not come from the mother? Or did it come from mixed with heathen? Did it come from the real cake not turned, which is in fact Ephraim? There's a difference between being mingled, and straight up cake not turned, which is y'all still dark, hair still curly and swirly. A lot of you do not have hair like wool, and a lot of other traits and features. I was just listening to or reading something on Huey Newton. He was talking about how his family went from light bright, making fun of them, they were light bright, almost white, to people in his family where they were saying that they were so dark they could leave fingerprints on coal. All in the same family. And guess what? My mother had 14 brothers and sisters all together, 7 boys, 7 girls, and they are all colors. My uncles and aunts on my mother's side are all colors. They go from light to dark. Same 2 parents. Okay, speaking of my mother, Ephraim, wanted my name to be Joshua. My dad, Judah, wanted my name to be Mark, the more worldly and white acceptable name, or Mordecai. Interestingly enough, my dad, Judah, chose Mark, who was from Levi. And my mother chose Joshua, which was from Ephraim. My child that most favors Ephraim is my oldest son, Joshua. Once again, Mark was a surname. My mom found that out later and said she had never intended to name me after a surname. Okay, and that's why Yakanan is on my profile, because she said I would have named you John if I would have known that his name was John Mark. Okay, that's why Yakanan is on my profile, not Mordecai or something. I don't think Mordecai is even Hebrew, so that might be some Yiddish stuff or Greek or something else. So mom wasn't with that. Okay. Now, why y'all think we're the same people as Hamites? There's so many of Ephraim that really think that we're Hamites, that you just have to continually accentuate and make the differences and stuff, because they just naturally, many of us just naturally connect to Africa, Akebulan. Okay. And what I've learned from watching so many of, seeing so many of mixed breeds and people like that, is that people tend to generally go with the mother. Same thing with me. My mother's brothers and all them were resounding athletes, big, and I was like, well, I want to be like them. Mom, we're the same. But she used to tell me, no, son, you're a Bailey. Okay, I'm a Lewis. Before understanding to say, no, son, they're Ephraim, and you're Yehovah. You're Judah. But we didn't know to say that at the time, although my mom was most definitely a prophetess. And when you look at it, for instance, Bob Marley's father was white. But Bob Marley wanted to be black. Huey Newton's grandfather was white, but Huey Newton was on the black cause. Okay, it makes sense that there's such an affinity for Egypt in Akebulan or Africa, because the mother of your nation, although we're all out of Africa. Now let's get that straight, okay? Hebrews are Africans, are from Akebulan, but we're not Hamites. But that affinity for Ham and these things of Akebulan makes sense, considering when there's a mixture. That's why so many of the brothers that have white mothers almost certainly end up with white women. And oddly enough, so many of the brothers that have white fathers and black mothers, you know, I'm calling them brothers for the sake of this because they are still black. They're just not Hebrew. Okay? But they actually go back to the sisters, because everybody loves mama. Everybody does. Okay? Now, some things overlap. All right? There's a lot of things that are going to overlap, because repetition is the heart of learning. Okay? They taught us this complete nonsense in school that didn't make a lot of sense initially. After they pounded it across our head over and over and over again, certain things that don't add up start to make more sense. Okay? So we're going to use it for things that actually are to be used for the good. The same repetition. Did not one time ran through. Didn't learn much of anything like that. When we were children, we fell repeatedly before we figured out how to walk. So, Not Bothered by Nakedness will be a video to itself, but or at least referenced in or tied into some other videos. I don't know if I'm going to make a whole video of that by itself, but we're going to reference it here also. Okay. Hamite tribes are known for running around naked, everything showing, and various indigenous people of Mongoloid, Negroid, Caucasoid, but we were not known for that. Okay, nakedness for us was not something that right from Eve, right from Adam and Eve, right from Adam. They know. Okay, I'm gonna teach y'all to be clothed right off the top. Okay, so we're gonna just reference a verse. I'm sure there's plenty of verses with the nakedness. Our stuff is not to be exhaustive; it's to make a point and create a preponderance. Okay, so Isaiah 47:3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Okay, we're going to stick to thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Okay, so that must mean we're covered. We were covered. Okay, these people were going over there discovering tribes in different places in Akebulan that were still naked. But here this is 4,000 years ago, and they're talking about uncovering us. So we were already covered. All that running around showing your bulge or your catcher's mitt on the female side or your nipples through the shirt, that's barbarism. That is not the behavior of the elect people of the Most High. That is Hamite behavior and heathen savage behavior. That is not Hebrew behavior. Okay? Now, this also lends credence to the madness of fake. You know these people, man. Teaching that everybody start out barbarians. Even a caveman can do it. All of this innuendo and stuff where they're trying to convince the world that everybody was a brutal savage and came out of the caves, when in fact only they came out of the caves. The Caucasoids. Everybody else had already had order and understanding, and then some of Ham. Again, you can't miss Ham. Ham, every possible representation of human life and genome and is in Ham. You can't get around it. Every look, period. Okay, we'll get to that later. Django Bucks will be a topic of their own coming up. But we're going to reference some of that too, some of that information that I'm going to use in the Django Buck and Jenga's Bucks, and because tomorrow's not promised. Who knows? I'm not guaranteed that I'll have the opportunity to just make these videos later. So if I can bleed in some of these topics and get them out there, then so be it. Hallelujah. Okay, the tallest people are Ham. You throw in a few genetic freaks of Moab or you know, here and there, and some of those Serbians or other people. I don't know where they come from, you know, but for the most part, the tallest people are Ham. Okay, they're never us. Okay, so you get a Shaq or somebody like us, it's always a difference. That's why Goliath was highlighted. That's why we didn't have anybody to match him. Okay, the tallest people are from Ham, but they take those of us that most favor Ham in order to choose as their breeders and their athletes. Okay, it's a science. It works. Okay, it works. It turns out that those are our best athletes, the people who most favor Ham. Okay, you go to social media. I just noticed this on a whim. I'm like, man, we got a lot of thick sisters now, especially amongst Ephraim, especially our Django Bucks, because the equivalence of the male powerhouse breeder is the female housewife, the basketball wives type female, straight up and down. Those are Jengas. They have the physical marvels in the female side that our males have on the male side. Okay, but they got more thicker females of Ham. Just go look at some of those videos on Instagram, on Facebook. Look at some of those videos of just African women just sitting around. Again, they chose those of us that most favored them. Okay, you look at it, Michael Jordan and another brother that I forget, I'm probably gonna flash his photo or something. Both are tied for 48 inches for the highest vertical NBA wise by their stats. Okay, well, they got whole tribes, the Maasai, whole tribes that jump out the gym. Okay, it's not nothing to Ham. But again, they choose y'all that most favor them. Again, Mandingos were not brought over. Hebrews were brought over. Those of you they called Mandingos were those who most favored those people. Okay, so for those of you endowed to speak, they have whole tribes as such. Okay, whole tribes. Again, they chose y'all who most favored that. They labeled you Mandingos in Django Unchained and other shows, but in fact, you were Hebrew breeders. Hebrews, especially Ephraim, who has mixed with all of these people. There's a record of it all over the place, and who has a Hamite mother who repeatedly ran back to Ham and mixed with Ham, came out with some of these cake not turn features and parts in the body and such that don't necessarily equate back to death defining us. Okay, long distance running, Ham. Ham's running the long distance, setting the records. Shem, short distance. We got the fastest short distance running for whatever reason. Okay, there's much affinity for the ways of your Hamite mother, Ephraim. Again, Django Bucks and Jengas are those of us that most favor Ham. Now, I have to make distinctions for many of my people, because what happens is this. Yes, Ham can do all the stuff that we can do. They know that. They're like, well, they're black and we're black. Why are they so infatuated with their black? Because we are the chosen elect people. That's what makes us stand out. So you wonder, where is their Michael Jackson? Well, do they not have somebody that can sing like Michael Jackson or dance like? Of course they do. Do they not have somebody that can be like James Brown or Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali or Usain Bolt? There's too many names for me to name, so I'm not going to try to name all of them. But these people, and Usain Bolt is, I believe, to be Manasseh. But to this point, it stands out because of who we are. Okay? It always does. The world is following us. Even in our, that's why it said, I know thy poverty, but thou art rich. Okay? So I know that you're at the bottom and you're being shunned, but everybody still wants to be you. Now, to that Usain Bolt, that's something that I'm going to be looking into later. I'm going to show how a lot of us with our names, we were still using the Y instead of the J. And we, most of us, well, not most of us, a large number of the names that they at least chronicled had Yah in it. Okay, that's not something that was common over here. And it couldn't have been common in Jamaica when it's not Jamaica. It could not have been common in the people who commonly say Jah when we all had Yah in our name. So if they were brought over with Yahweh and Ben Yamin and Simeon absorbed into us and Levi, then they would have named it Jamaica. No way around it. They definitely would have been saying Yah instead of Jah, which lets me know that those are not Southern tribers. It doesn't add up. But they might be Manasseh. Because again, I told you, when I broke bread with them in the belly of the beast, they were not comfortable with your barbarism at all. Brother fool with Ham and various people, which I found out Judah was the one sent to South America and all them places, so they brother fool with Judah and people like that. So they might be Gideon, they might be Manasseh. There's something to that. Okay, now, not bothered by nakedness will be its own topic. Again, but maybe not. Maybe we'll tie it in. But we will mention the infatuation with what actually Egypt was about. The male phallus. To such a degree that we got sisters on social media telling dudes to send them their dimensions or a pic in order to choose their next mate. This is barbarism. This is barbarism, okay? Leading us to abject ruin. But in Django Unchained, when they said, throw her to the Mandingos, when they threw her to the Mandingos, like they're doing now, they're putting boys and girls right next to each other in school, that's barbarism. Throughout all of history, we were separated. We wasn't just left there to just be playing with each other, ruining each other. All these kids and all this confusion, all these diseases, they knew what they were. They're disgusting. But then again, they didn't know because they weren't on the earth. They make a lot of silly mistakes like that because some of that stuff ruined them. Okay, they're still mixing men and women in jobs and all these other stuff, just creating utter confusion. Okay, now, Leviticus 19:27. Ye shall not round the corners of your head, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Okay, I mention this because much of Ham don't grow hair on their face. Now, again, you can go find whole nations of Ham with hair on their face because you can't miss Ham. You can't miss Ham in anything of color, any dimension of color, from light, from albino to purple. Ham has it. Ham encompasses all creation, save those caucasoids. And just like all the tribes said before, man, we ain't never seen nobody that looks like you. And they know it. Okay, they knew it. They had never seen nobody look like you. The whites are not out of Africa. That is a lie. But any shade of color, from albinoism all the way to the darkest of dark, Africa has it. From hair on your face to no hair on your face to whatever you want to name it. Small nose, small ear, big ear. They got it. Okay, because that's just Ham, the biggest nation. But it's not natural to Hebrews, and I'll be showing this more in some other pictures. We're going to flash a few here too. It's not natural for Hebrews to have a nose of Ham. It's not natural for Hebrews to bald early. Okay, these are not things that come natural. The Most High wasn't putting these things out here for a nation of a bunch of bald people and no hair on their face. Okay, we were known for being hairy, having hair on our face. I'm almost 50 and still having full hair. Okay, that's why we were told that. We were told our locks. Now, if you notice, Hamites' locks do not grow the same as ours. Most often, Hamites' locks won't grow that long because we actually have a different grade of hair. Our hair is like wool. So when they mention hair like wool, that doesn't run across all of Akebulan. Okay, hair like wool is a Hebrew trait. Hair like Brillo. So if you take like a Brillo pad when you wash, That's more similar to the more beady, less wavy, less curly, or maybe even a tighter curl type hair of Ham, to whereas the wool is more of a definition, more of the sponge for the Hebrew. Okay, if you look into it, you will see they're different. That's why our hair grows longer, much easier than theirs does. You'll notice that their braids hardly grow. And many of us, like Drew Holiday and that favor Ham, also have problems with getting their hair to grow long. That's that cake not turned. Okay. So Leviticus 21:5. Ye shall not make baldness upon their head. No, they shall not make baldness upon their head. Neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. Okay, so baldness ahead, again, a lot of us, especially Ephraim, that's that cake not turn, are balding early, but that was not natural for us initially. Ham, it is, because their grade is different. If your grade is overly brillowy or overly wavy, mark my words, you are more than likely going to bald early. Okay, mark my words. Shave the corner of their beard, they don't even have beards. Okay, a lot of them don't even have them. It just wouldn't make sense when whole tribes don't grow beards to have this commandment for them. Cuttings on the flesh, you've seen the Hamites do that. They cut all over their face, poke marks, all types of, okay, no, that was not commissioned to them. That was commissioned to us not to do. Stop doing all them extra tats and that extracurricular, following the heathen. Envy not thou oppressor. Okay? So, the tallest people in the NBA, search them out. They're almost all Hamites. Like I said, you throw in a few mutations amongst Moab and such, but for the most part, it's Ham. Okay. Now, that quick to believe Hamite, this is Hamite nonsense. That woman is God nonsense. Man, that's not us. Okay? There are gods, many in heaven and earth. But for us, there's one God. The Father. In the story. For us, man was made first. For us, it's mankind. For us, she's woman, from the womb of man. Period. It's a father and a son. That woman is God. That's some Ham stuff. That's these people over here, these hyenas. That's why their leader is Lady Babylon. That's why they got the Statue of Liberty sitting up front. That's hyena behavior. You remember, we follow the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The most bitter enemy of the lion is the hyena. The most bitter enemy of us are these hyenas. Okay? It's no wonder that they correlate. All right? Now, Genesis 46:20. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt was born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bare unto him. That was your mother, Ephraim. My mother is Ephraim. My mother is my favorite. Okay? That's just how it works. And the women I wanted, most favored my mother. That's how it works. Okay? Deuteronomy 28:68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, the northern tribes weren't brought over by ships. The southern tribes were brought over by ships. We know that now when we look at the map of 1700, whatever it is, that was the kingdom of Yahweh. That was not the northern tribes. We were brought over in ships. But I want to reference this again because to let it be known, we're back in Egypt. By the ways, by the behaviors, by all the mannerisms and stuff that these people have picked up. That's why so many of us, especially from Ephraim, are susceptible to this. This envy not thou oppressor was not written. It was written by Yahweh. Like I said before, it's most likely that it went completely ignored. Okay, the rift between Yahweh and Ephraim is deep and runs back a long way. So it's only natural to assume that much of what Judah wrote, or to speculate much of what Judah wrote, has been ignored. Just out of just pure derision, just pure out of, I ain't trying to hear it from them. I don't fool with them like that. Okay, but y'all envying the oppressor, something vicious over here, and following all these Egyptian and heathen ways to our chagrin. 1 Chronicles 1:8. The sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, Canaan. Okay, Mizraim is Egypt. That's a son of Ham. Cush, again, Cushites and all that. I said I'm a Cushite in the song. My name's Pharaoh on the music and all of that. Why? Because I saw the affinity. I saw that, okay, so if I want to try to, I want to draw, I don't want my name to be little this and big this or some retarded ass, ebonic ass trash for my name. Okay, I wanted my name to hold some kind of respect. So I'm like, well, these people got a lot of respect for Egypt. I'll name myself Pharaoh, or Pharaoh, if you want to know the proper way to pronounce it, it's Pharaoh. But I'll name myself Pharaoh. That way, they'll see that I'm royalty. I'm to be. But I had no idea about that. There were so many references. I saw, I said, Heru, that these things had to be worked out. Because there were similarities. There were things that seemed confusing. I'm like, well, if them people in the Bible white, well, then this is where they stole it from. I'm going to go ahead and go with Pharaoh. Even named my son Asar. Well, I come back to the Hebrew, to understanding the thing, and I realized that I was wrong. That was egregious even. But this is what's meant to be. And in the end, it tied back in. Okay, now, Hosea 7:11. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt. They go to Assyria. Okay, there goes that Egypt again. You constantly have an affinity for that because that was mama. Okay, but let's go into this verse real quick. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. Okay, that's not our definition of heart, that y'all won't go get in the pain or bust a pistol or anything like that. What that meant in that respect was heart was related to soul. So what they're saying is lacking spiritual direction. Okay, that's y'all. You look to Egyptian, well, I'm this. You look to Assyrian, well, I'm that. The women insist on a ring, well, that's Babylonian. Okay, that's what it's saying. Because you lack spiritual direction, you look to these heathen for understanding. That's what that meant. Now, I'm going to throw this in at the end because, hey, why not? I'm sitting there looking at Ice Cube and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I saw this verse. It said, Numbers 13:8, of the tribe of Ephraim, Oshea, the son of Nun. So he says his name is O'Shea. Actually, when you look at it from the spelling, it's actually Oshea. Okay, but he was tribe of Ephraim. The Shalisha, there's so many other names that y'all got are actually Ephraim, just subliminally, just naturally in your DNA. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. View the pictures. Look forward to the next video. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Salah.